All right. I think we're live. Let's see if anybody joins us.
That's the question.
Oh, I just got a notification. The Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast is going live.
Excellent.
You should log on and watch.
I should. I did that while we were in Chicago. I was watching the live stream so I could make sure that I was still in the frame.
Yeah. Yeah, the kids, I'm pretty sure, are watching in the other room.
Oh, is that what they're...
I think so. I think that's the plan.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. I hear everybody. Cool. So, yeah, I was watching the third episode of The Crown on Netflix. And I love the first two seasons.
Oh, is it back?
Oh, yeah. It's back.
I missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's important information.
Yeah. And the third episode was phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. I'm excited. I really enjoyed the first two seasons. So great expectations.
And the cast is amazing. Let me tell you.
Shannon's here. That's awesome. What's up, Shannon?
What's up, Shannon? How you doing? So, yeah, we're live. Let's say hello to everybody. Alex, how you doing?
Good. What's up, bro? Long time no see.
Good. Yeah, you survived your trip back from Chicago, I see.
I did.
That's
on
fantastic.
The infamous Spirit Airlines.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Anybody else fly Spirit in the past?
I've never flown Spirit.
No?
We don't fly much.
Well, first of all, no airline is sponsoring our podcast, so we can't.
Definitely not Spirit.
Especially after what we have to say, right?
But if any of them would like to sponsor our podcast,
Sure,
we'd be glad to say nice
That would
things.
be fantastic. So, hey, everybody. Shannon, how you doing? Hopefully, we'll get some more people to join us. We're going to have some fun here talking about the first couple of episodes of The Mandalorian. And we have, as always, our special, wonderful friends over at Sci-Fictionary, Coruscant Radio Underground. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good. How are y'all doing tonight?
We're doing fantastic. Fantastic. Glad you guys were able to join us. And did you guys get your camera situation fixed? I think so. I'm assuming, yeah. Because we can see you, so that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, the camera was working fine. I was having a little bit of an issue getting my sound to come back through my board, but we just plugged straight into the computer and solved that.
That works.
Excellent. I was having technical issues, and then Alex guided me and fixed my issues. So thank you very much, Alex.
That's what I'm here for. Fixing Rose issues.
Yeah, exactly. I always say that Alex seems to be the level-headed one, and I just can't stand it. He's always calm. He's always like, he's well thought out. I'm more of a jump first, ask questions later kind of guy. But thank you, Alex, for
It's a blessing and a curse. So people are like, why aren't you mad about this? I'm like, I just don't care.
It makes life easier.
It's not that important, really.
Yeah, probably not. Most things aren't, I've decided.
Most things, yeah, exactly. Most things aren't. You know what is important is The Mandalorian. Let's talk about that.
There you go.
Yes.
The king of segues. So, The Mandalorian, you guys caught up? Everybody caught up?
We are.
Of course. We've only seen, the second episode 4 times?
I think so.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you guys about that. Overall, how are you guys reacting to Star Wars on TV? It's a long time coming, I guess. We've been talking about this since the early 90s when George Lucas kind of announced the fact that he wanted to do something on TV. But here we are. What do you guys think?
Man, I'm over the moon about it. It exceeded all of my expectations.
Yep. I'm really, it's more Star Wars, so there's not really anything to complain about for me. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, it's just, it feels right. I mean, it feels like Star Wars. It's awesome to have it and know it's coming. You know,
Mhm.
I'm going to get something new Star Wars next week. It's kind of sort of like going through a book more than waiting for a movie,
Mhm.
and having it a little more rapid fire. And I can't wait till they get all 3 shows that they've announced up and running.
Yeah,
So
we've got the Mandalorian, we've got Cassian Andor series, which I can't wait for, and
Mhm.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. It just keeps getting better and better, guys.
So excited.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alex, what before the Mandalorian, before the show came out, I mean, what were your expectations?
I mean, I know that Jon Favreau had announced several times that this was going to be very much an homage to A New Hope. That
Mhm.
feeling that we get when we walk into Mos Eisley, he talked about how he wanted to explore that world more. And in that respect, it definitely delivers 100%. We get those great scenes, the cowboy gunslinger walking into the bar with
Mhm.
the sliding door or the swinging doors, like the
Door, yeah.
classic Clint Eastwood and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
there's definitely an aesthetic that he went for, that he nailed, I think.
Mhm.
It took me a bit to get used to the music because I'm so used to that John Williams
Mhm.
fanfare when it comes to Star Wars that I was like a little taken aback. I was like, oh, it doesn't quite ring the same in my heart,
Mhm.
when I'm watching the show, but it's starting to grow on me. I am enjoying it as we get closer, more episodes in and more action scenes and stuff like that. I'm starting to pick up on the Mandalorian's theme song and things like that. So
Mhm.
Right.
it's delivering on a lot of ways. Man, do I wish the episodes were longer though.
I know. It's like
Yeah.
we get done and it's like, wait, but wait, that can't be. You can't be done. Yes,
That's
like
it,
5 more
that's it.
minutes. Just 5 more minutes.
Yeah, and somebody, I was kind of complaining about it on social media, and somebody had reminded me. They're like, hey, the old rifleman spaghetti westerns that George Lucas grew up with, that always inspired him to make Star Wars in the first place. Those were 30-minute shows, and I was like, oh, okay, it makes a little bit more sense now. It's a little bit easier to take, but I'm so spoiled with shows like Chernobyl and Game of Thrones being hour plus long, great episodes, that these 30-minute ones, they're so short and sweet. I'm just like, I'm begging for more, which is a good thing. At least we're asking for more and not less. So
Right.
Yeah,
have to,
one of the things that obviously we have to keep in mind is that these shows are not your usual episodic fare. I mean, this is Star Wars, and I think the budgets have to reflect the quality of what's presented on the screen, and maybe $10 million is half an hour's worth of Star Wars content. So
Yeah.
as much as I'm with everybody in the chat are also saying that they wish that the episodes were longer, but I'd rather have a good quality show than something that might look like a fan film or a college project where they cut corners. And I really have to kind of like bite my tongue and kind of like keep that in mind, because I think if the quality starts to slip, then all hell will break loose, I think, for the fans.
Oh yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, they need to nail this. They need this to be good. This is the first. I mean, not only is this the introduction of Star Wars on TV, this is the beginning of what they've sunk a lot of money into on Disney Plus shows, period. So they really need it to be successful. I mean, they need to keep those expectations. They need to meet and exceed those expectations. So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, and plus it's a major launch for a new streaming service, which Disney is banking on hard, because despite the overwhelming amount of material that they have available to you once you stream, none of that's really making them money. The Mandalorian is what's selling people, I think, the most. People are coming on for new content. Everybody, no, I don't want to say everybody, but a lot of people already own most of these Disney movies, especially if they have kids and stuff like that. So that might not be a big enough draw. But if they nail this Star Wars content with fresh new ideas, and along with Marvel, making sure that these shows are top-notch quality, up there with HBO and Netflix, like Stranger Things and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
If they get people talking and get people noticing their original content, that's a big selling point for them. And they need it, like you said, they need it to land.
Yeah, I think right now the only thing really that's the draw is the Mandalorian, and obviously, for folks that actually don't own any of the Star Wars or Marvel things, I mean, obviously you can get access to them there, but I mean, being people like us, I mean, I can't imagine not owning a Marvel or a Star Wars film on disc or
Right.
some sort of media.
I don't
But,
own any of them.
Really?
I'm
You don't have-
I'm not a physical media type of guy. I buy everything on like Amazon Prime or something like that for direct streaming, downloading, and stuff like that.
We
Okay.
So
buy.
I'm one of those weirdos, I guess.
yeah,
I mean, I'm very much an '80s kid, and it's all about physical media. I mean,
We
it's hard
usually
to
buy
let
the
go of
digital
it.
copies too.
Yeah.
We buy the package with the digital and the Blu-ray and the DVD. Got all of our bases covered. So whichever one goes under, we'll still have it.
if the cloud goes down, you guys are safe.
Yeah.
We are
Right.
safe. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, getting back to, I just want to say, let's see who else joined us. Frank and Amy, our usual partners in crime. How are you guys? Michael Harris. He says that Star Wars is the only physical thing that he buys. And then, that's cool. Let me see. So getting back to the way that the Mandalorian is kind of like, does it, I know I've posed this question before. Does it feel like Star Wars? And I think I've heard people ask, like, what does that actually mean? Do you guys have that feeling of, does it feel like Star Wars? Is it Star Wars enough? Like, how much of it can you see? Like, Alex, you were talking about how at first that first episode, the music wasn't like John Williams-y. And I know that, Filoni and Favreau were going kind of for another feel. This is obviously a smaller story. There's no Sith, there's no Jedi, there's no Empire. This is something a little bit more encapsulated in kind of like the common man type of story. And I guess I can kind of feel that going into it. And we knew that going into it, but I think expectations I wanted to really feel that grandiose, musical score, because again, that's Star Wars to me. I get what they're doing now, but going into it, did you guys have that expectation as well?
I think I was kind of expecting it to be pretty to feel a lot like a Western. So I wasn't really surprised. We were listening today to what Fistful of Dollars, the soundtrack for Fistful of Dollars. It is
Planes Drifter.
Yeah.
Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I mean, it's definitely got those aesthetics to the music.
Although at the end of the first episode, I had the Parade of the Slave Children from Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones stuck in my head. But I've listened to a lot of John Williams music over the years, not just Star Wars. And so the music kind of didn't necessarily feel Star Wars John Williams all the way through, but it was very reminiscent of some of the other things he's done over the years. So that's, once I kind of like latched onto that, I was like, okay, it's John Williams-y enough.
Sure.
For my taste.
It took me back a little bit. I do like the new music, but I felt a little bit initially it was, it's different. It is very different than previous Star Wars music. But I do like that they said, okay, we're going to go over here and we're going to learn more about Mandalorian lore, culture, and gave it its own feel.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. It does need to have its own identity. It doesn't need to feel exactly like the original trilogy or the prequels or anything like that. It does need to carry its own weight. And that's a solid point. I agree with you. Even though I'm not like huge into the music yet, I think it'll probably grow on me, because I know if you guys remember the trailer, one of the first trailers that we got, it had that real intense music to it when they were flying the ship around. That music struck me. Like, I was like, oh wow, that's a really cool tune. It was very catchy. It had like a really good oomph to it, and I haven't heard that yet. I'm hoping that we hear it in the show itself instead of just the trailer, because that had a really good feel to it. And if that's coming in the future, then I think that'll be really good. But you are right; it does need to be its own thing. It doesn't need to be John Williams-esque or original trilogy like or whatever. It needs to be the Mandalorian. So I think it is accomplishing that in its own right. And that was a solid point, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think I was a little bit more, I guess, I don't want to say used to, but I liked the score for the second episode a little better. And again, I don't know if it's because I was used to what they're trying to do, or the Mandalorian theme was a little bit more fleshed out, because there was a lot of scenes where and Filoni is good at this, showing instead of telling.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of scenes where the Mandalorian is just doing his thing. It's kind of silent. You see him doing his thing, and you hear the music. You hear that undertone, that theme, that I think we're going to start to hear a little bit more and more.
And I think I was reading some interviews with the composer, and they're like, there's their themes for like the major characters. We haven't really seen many of them yet, but that's a very, that's a very Star Wars thing to do, is for everybody to sort of have their theme. So I think as it goes on, I think we're going to get more and more of that, because they're actually going to be releasing the soundtrack for each episode as the episode drops. So I think they've intentionally held things back story point wise, like, the little baby Yoda. I think they're intentionally holding back music things for later. It's kind of what it sounded like from what I was reading.
Are you talking about like titles or the actual music? Because I know the episode music is available on, I think, on Spotify, like after the episode releases.
I'm sorry. What was the question?
Oh, are you talking
about
the
titles for the music?
Yeah.
I think there are just going to be like motifs and things that are going to be related to certain characters that they're not. They didn't release the soundtrack for the whole season. They're releasing the soundtrack one episode at a time as the episodes come out. I think the music is going to be a little different for all of them.
Sure. Alex, you had a point?
I was talking about, because me and you are huge fans of David W. Collins, the soundtrack show, and he talks a lot about, especially with Indiana Jones and characters like that, how you don't get their full fanfare until about halfway through the movie, when they have their big triumphant moment, the peak of the film. That's when you get the full orchestric, that's not the word, orchestral sound to their character, their leitmotif or their fanfare. And somebody had mentioned in the comments that it's going to end up being about a 3-hour movie or so, 3 or 4 hour movie. So maybe once we get it all put together, we have the full season out midway through the season to maybe later on in the season, we'll get the Mandalorian's like full fanfare theme in all its glory. Because right now we're still getting to know the guy. We're getting little hints, like when he's taking on the Sandcrawler in the second episode, we get little hints of his sound, of his theme is getting bolder and bolder. So I think that's a solid point that later on in the season that we're going to get more.
That's a great point. As you mentioned, the soundtrack show, we get a lot of examination of the, especially like the Indiana Jones reference that you mentioned, to how his character grows, and you can tell how the music kind of like progresses with each experience that Indiana Jones has. And I think that's happening here with the Mandalorian, like you said, his adventure with the Jawas, and I think that's probably why, like subconsciously too, you can kind of see that the music is being fleshed out a little longer each time, because he's gaining more experience. He's getting his butt kicked, but he's getting back up and trying something else. So I really think when we're done with this season and we're able to see not only what the Mandalorian has done, but musically too, I think it's going to be a great progression, and I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think so. And the very end of the second episode was very classic Star Warsy, orchestral, big, when he's flying off in the ship. And I think we'll kind of see some more of that as it goes on. I think you're right. I kind of like the idea of it sort of growing with him.
We get to see him grow. We get to see his armor change. You see his music change. And it kind of goes back. I mean, even Obi-Wan and A New Hope, his theme when we're first introduced to it is very soft. And in the middle of the movie, it really picks up. And then, I mean, the throne room scene, the march, that's Obi-Wan's theme. I mean, we see that triumphant moment when Obi-Wan's theme becomes the celebration music, the victory music. So,
Andrew, as a photographer, I wanted to ask you this question. There are, like, the first episode. Let's go to the first episode.
Okay.
There's a sequence of shots that I kind of looked at, and I think, also as a camera guy, I would have shot them a little different. there is a shot specifically when the Mandalorian is walking through that alley, and the camera is at the end of the alley. You can see him coming down the stairs, and he walks towards the camera, and you can see him knocking on the door. I think that was like a little bit plain Jane for me. And obviously, because of the scope of things, I'm not sure if either they had time or they designed that certain shot. I would have liked to have seen maybe a higher shot overlooking that little town, and then maybe just kind of a little bit more complex or complicated camera work in the first episode. What did you think of that aspect of how the Mandalorian is being shot?
Overall, I think it's been shot really well. There are some little things like you're talking about, and I kind of wondered if it was a little bit of Filoni doing his first directing.
Yeah,
in
that
live
could be.
action.
I was just about to say that. I was like, it's Filoni's first time ever directing a live action series, so he's going to have those plain Jane. He's going back to basics, or he's learning the basics of filmmaking in the real world. So I think those critiques are probably just watching somebody who's new to the style, and I can forgive that, keeping that in mind.
Well, let me be devil's advocate. I mean, go back and take a look at some of the great episodes that he has directed in the Clone Wars cartoons. I mean, there are some really, wide, really grand scope shots in that.
Yeah, for sure.
And obviously, you can draw something and then do it. Here, you're limited to the physical props and the physical sets. Obviously, you can do some digital extensions, but I can kind of see, Alex, your point. But I think maybe for me, I think maybe he could have gone a little more. Andrew, what do you think?
I mean, I think they could have done more with it. Like I said, overall, I like it. But they've got, I mean, the cinematographers working on this it's the same cinematographers that were the directors of photography for Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
The both groups, the main group and the B group.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it might be that it's Filoni's first go, but he's surrounded by people that really know their craft.
Sure.
So I don't know. I wonder, I mean, they're doing a lot of stuff that's new, and I wonder if that's affecting any of the decisions on angles with shooting backgrounds. I mean, they're not digitally overlaying backgrounds after the fact. They're using giant screens, and the background is there while they're shooting.
Yeah, and that's I wanted to talk a little bit about that too, because when we had Dominic Pace on the second show, I had asked him specifically what kind of new technology that he was able to witness, and he gave us a couple of minutes worth of his experience with the LED screens and the projection. There was an article today regarding that and how they're taking technology from not Minecraft, the other game that kids play. Fortnite. Yeah. They're taking the render engines from Fortnite and using that to project already rendered backgrounds onto screens, and that data is brought into the camera. So if you're moving the camera like this and there's a window off to the side, the camera has the same data as the projection, and it moves along with the camera movement, which to me is amazing. It's almost like you don't have to. It's like one step closer to not having to take that shot into post.
Right.
You already have that shot in the camera. And it saves a lot of time, obviously, on the back end. So that's another thing. Marisha, you had mentioned a long time ago when we were doing a couple of episodes together about how George Lucas has always kind of been at the forefront of technology when it comes to the films, and I think we're getting back to that. During Star Wars Celebration, we had that behind the scenes reel where the guys are like, hey, let's go into the garage and make this camera rig. And I'm like, ILM is still blowing my mind with all the stuff that they're doing. What do you guys think of that? I mean, is this going to be another avenue to push the technology of filmmaking forward, as George Lucas has stated?
Absolutely. I think Lucas has got to be pretty happy with that aspect of it. I think that's been one of his biggest gripes about what's been going on with Star Wars is
Mhm.
he saw Star Wars as a vehicle to push filmmaking forward, and it kind of quit doing that. And it was, they were still doing cool stuff, but not necessarily advancing the process.
Yeah.
And of course, Jon Favreau was the right guy to bring on to do this. I mean,
Mhm.
he's the guy doing, the combination of practical and real, practical, real people, digital. I mean, and combining all that
Mhm.
and getting it all in a live shot
Yeah.
is
Yeah, his work on Jungle Book, which I'm not really into like Disney live action reboots per se, but I watched Jungle Book just for the to get a look at the technology that they were using, some of the behind the scenes stuff. It's
Mhm.
completely CGI world, and you have this live action kid around, and you can't really tell what's real and what's not.
Real.
It's amazing technology, and the movies are coming so far. And
Yeah.
I think Ro's right. I think George Lucas has always been pushing for technology to move forward in filmmaking. I remember a joke that he made. I think I probably talked about it before, so I might sound like a broken record. But one of the things he said when somebody had showed him this big elaborate set that they built, like, oh, here's the ship and here's this big building, and he was just like, why didn't you just make it on green screen and save all that time and money? And we're as fans, we're always like, yeah, practical. But George is like, no, that's too much work. Let's just put it in post.
The cool thing is, though, is they're pushing it forward by making practical effects better, and that's super cool, because that's something we've been seeing CGI get better and better and better, and so now they're working on making things that you can see. I mean, the baby Yoda is a robot. They've got two people over there, controlling him. I mean, that's amazing. So now they can, practical effects doesn't just have to be stop motion anymore. The singing bird from Mary Poppins, which I'm sure was really cool, in the 60s, but to push that forward, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. Frank and Amy says that's exactly what Yoshi said a few weeks ago on the podcast. Getting that right mix of physical and digital to blend them seamlessly. I think that's going to be the key to special effects going forward for Star Wars and for other films. Obviously, I'm working on films other than Star Wars. And, you got to be at the top when you're the premier special effects company of the world. So,
Yeah, and I can just mention that that 8-minute short for Jurassic World. They did Battle at Big Rock. Man, that looked fantastic. That was some of the best mixture of animatronic and CGI dinosaurs that ILM has done, and I really appreciate like that perfect mix. You have I think the Allosaurus for several scenes was an actual animatronic with like a digital makeup done to it to make it look a little bit more real. So it's awesome technology, and I can't wait to see somebody like really push it forward and use it in ways that are new and exciting. And I think of all people, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are in the prime position to do that, especially with 9 coming around the corner. We'll be done with this trilogy. We'll be able to move on to something different and new, and it'll be really cool to see where they go. I hope that those are the two guys that take on those bigger projects and those trilogies, because I think they have the mind for it, and I think they understand both George's legacy and what Star Wars means to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely true. And now, obviously, with the news that Favreau is going to be a major part of Lucasfilm, I think a lot of people are doing what Alex is doing, raise the roof.
Exactly, yes.
People are really happy about that. Not only has he proven himself as a storyteller, him and obviously Filoni, but Favreau he's got the chops. He's got I think he's got the ability now. Everybody's talking about the Mandalorian. I think the filmmakers were trying to unite the fandom with Porgs, but I think Baby Yoda is the one that ended up doing that.
Yep.
You can't not love that little thing. It's so stinking cute.
It's so
like, was it Werner Herzog that said he cried on set when he saw it for the first time?
It's adorable, man.
Yeah. If you didn't cry on the set of the Baby Yoda, then you're not human.
And
So what do you?
a Star Wars person either, so that's even
Oh, right,
more
right.
impressive.
Yeah, he never even seen any of the movies, and he's like, "Have you ever seen Star Wars?" No, I've never seen any of that stuff. I know John's, and I don't think he's ever seen any John Favreau's movies. He's just like, "Oh no, I talked with him about the script, and I thought this was a what do you call it, a new mythology to bring into the modern world, and that's what excited him most about it." I'm like, "Dang, that's high praise, man."
Yeah, definitely. Hey, I want to say a quick shout out to Trevor Beast 454. Thank you very much for joining us. He says exactly, Alex, Dave Filoni, and Jon Favreau are the Star Wars geniuses, at least in my book, and probably in a lot of other people's books. Thank you, Trevor Beast 454. And thank you. He's going to be on the show next week. We're going to interview, we're going to talk to him about the Mandalorian. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But he's the guy that created our questions for the ScarifCon 2019. So thank you, Trevor, for that. But yeah, this is shaping up to be a very interesting, season of The Mandalorian. It's a very interesting story. I did not expect that ending in chapter 1.
No.
Before the project came out, I was reading some kind of like story leaks, and I knew that there was a child involved in this story, or at least I heard that there was some sort of child involved, that he's supposed to be, protecting a child. Never in a million years did I expect that to be the child. This is turning out to be like Space Willow for some people.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the story? What do you think? Where do you think it might be heading? Any ideas? Alex?
Oh, me. I was also taken aback by seeing a little baby Yoda species. I don't know if it's him or not. I'm not entirely convinced, although there is some really good I don't know what you call it. Anyway, there's an idea out there that's floating around that it's a clone of Yoda, and they have some pretty convincing evidence for that. I was not expecting it. Tell you the truth, I didn't expect there to be any kind of force power whatsoever in this show. When they kind of advertised it as like a Western, I thought, okay, we're going to be separated from the Jedi, separated from, dark side, light side stuff. And it's going to be just focused on, the underworld of Star Wars with bounty hunters and stuff like that. And then to get this, and then in episode 2 to have that big reveal also, it shifted my idea of where this story might go. And I'm like, well, I'm really surprised that it's connected in that way. Although that does make me just a little bit nervous, because as much as I trust Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and all those guys, I really would rather them not be messing with original trilogy characters or their backstories or anything like that. Like there's a point there where I'm like, just leave, it's perfect. Just leave it the way it is. I don't really need to know more about Yoda. I think he's a mysterious character. We don't know his species. We don't know his past. And I like that about it. So I just hope that they don't cross that line into possibly retconning anything from the original trilogy or kind of pulling back the curtain too much. So I am worried, but I don't want to get too negative about it, because I think John and Dave know what they're doing, so I have to try and trust them. But it's just like, please don't ruin Yoda.
Yeah, we get it, Alex. By the way, we cannot say the word retcon on this program.
Oh, sorry.
But I kind of agree with you. I can see where you're coming from, and people, the internet is kind of twisted out of shape when people mention that it might be a clone of who. And probably because I think people are kind of over the whole clone storyline. I know clones, feature prominently in probably all trilogies at this point. So I don't know. I'm okay with, if it were anyone else other than these two, Filoni and Favreau, I'd be probably more worried than I think you are. But I think Filoni's got a pretty good grasp of the characters, both the original trilogy and the characters that he created. So I think I'm going to trust them, and I'm going to see where this ride takes us. How about you guys?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not as worried about I like to know the backstory for everything. I'm one of those people who couldn't just watch Lord of the Rings. No, I had to read all the books, and I had to read the Silmarillion. I had to start checking out the unfinished tales from the library so that I could have context for everything. So, pulling back the curtain, I don't think would hurt my feelings too much. But for your sake, I hope that they don't.
Well, I trust Dave a lot with this stuff just because he talked recently in an interview about kind of the reason they didn't use IG-88, why they went with IG-11. He said, it's kind of like these things from the original. They're kind of these holy things, and you don't want to take them and do something that's going to tarnish what they were before. And that it's easier to use those characters for inspiration for new characters. But that being said, if he is a clone of Yoda, he's still a completely separate new character. So
that's fair. That's a fair point.
The we of clones, the happier I'll be. Though.
Well, it's like in the very first episode, the pilot episode of the Clone Wars, when Yoda's sitting there with his 3 troopers, and they're like, "Well, we're just clones," and he says, "No, inside of each of you is different."
Yeah.
Oh, nice reference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well done.
I used that clip in I think 2 podcast episodes ago when we talked about the legacy of the Clone Wars.
Yep.
Very good. I applaud you, Andrew.
When you have kids, you have to find something to watch because you can only do so much Power Rangers. So it's like, we're watching the Clone Wars again. That's where we're currently at in life.
That's funny. Yeah. So surprises going forward. I know we mentioned a little bit about what Dave Filoni has said recently in some interviews. They asked him about the mysterious, shadowy figure of Boba Fett in that hallway. I didn't see it. I think I'd have to zoom in and kind of like look and see if what they're talking about. I really didn't see that. And then some other things. Alex, you and I were talking a while ago about the possibility of bringing Ahsoka in, but we kind of had our reservations. I think Ahsoka is a very unique looking character that probably wouldn't work live action as well as we think, only because she's just very unique. I think going back to the special effects of things, Ahsoka will probably work with a combination of practical and CGI. But we've all seen a lot of really, really good cosplay with Ahsoka, but it's still not 100% there. So I don't know what do you guys think as far as surprises going forward? Are we going to see familiar Filoni characters in this show? I know season 2 is well underway as far as being either written or in production already.
It's in production right now.
Yeah.
It's being filmed.
So what do you guys hope to see?
If we see familiar characters, I hope it's a ways out. I would really rather build this story around these characters and what's happening with them instead of being like, oh, and here's this person. Aren't you excited to see them? I don't really want that right now. I just want this story right now. That's
Katie Sackhoff just tweeted a couple of days ago some mysterious tweet that she says it's a dream come true. It's a secret project I've been wanting to do for a long time. I can't say anything, but just to know I'm happy. Everybody just jumped on that and said that she was going to be one of the Mandalorians that was in was it Clone Wars? What was her name? What was her character's name that she voiced? Somebody, Bo-Katan.
Trevor would know. Check Trevor in the comments.
Yeah, totally.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah. So, there's that possibility as well. So, familiar faces going forward. I think Andrew's disgusted. He's just leaving.
Yeah. Our computer just told us that it's needs a charger. So just 1 second.
But
I wouldn't mind seeing Mandalorian characters. Oops.
Yeah. And actually, I agree with you, Marisha. I think seeing characters that are new, it's probably something that Star Wars needs at this point, just to kind of flesh things out and get some new, characters going.
Yeah. I mean, and eventually, I wouldn't mind seeing Sabine. I wouldn't mind seeing Clan Ren. I wouldn't mind seeing what happened to Pre Vizsla. some other Mandalorian characters, but maybe in season 2.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I
I
I'd
can
rather
agree
see
with that.
Ahsoka somewhere else.
Is Pre Vizsla still alive?
Yeah, I don't know.
'Cause that's-
No, I think
He's dead, right?
he's dead, but he's still got a clan and he's got
Sure,
people,
he's got people.
He was the Death Watch, right? He was with the Death Watch. So I wouldn't mind finding out what happened to the Death Watch,
Yeah,
what
'cause that was
happened to
Favreau's character, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it was. I forgot
it
about
was.
that.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things that's really exciting for me. Obviously, being a fan of Dave Filoni and a fan of what he did with the cartoons, is that he's able to pull from that realm. He's able to pull from those characters in that world. So it's
Nobody knows it better.
exactly, nobody knows it better.
Mhm.
That's a familiar shirt there you have. Andrew.
Yeah. Well,
Got his Scarif shirt. His collection of Star Wars shirts.
Yeah.
and I always make sure I wear it on at least one day when we go to cons.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Trevor B says Bo-Katan cry. He even knows the last name, voiced by Katie. Set here. Let me put it up here.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Thank you, Trevor.
Yeah. See,
We were guessing. He knows.
he knows exactly. And I just wanted to mention before I forget, we are going to be giving away a signed Dominic Pace character card of the.
Oh, that's
Gecko.
awesome.
That he sent me. Great guy, wonderful guy. This is actually drawn by an artist named Aubrey Eden Dukes. You can follow her on Instagram at Aubs the Blix, and she's got some great art there. And she drew the gecko, signed by our friend and yours, Mr. Dominic Pace.
Awesome.
So we'll be giving away, let's see. Chad is in the chat. What's up, Chad? How's it going? We got a nice group going here. So real fast, also before I forget, Alex, aren't you gonna ask me about my silky smooth skin? No? Because
What are you using for your new products there, Ro?
I'm using Organically Wonderful. This is the unscented Everybody oil.
Here's the
really
here's the
good.
full size. This is the full size bottle.
Yes.
You guys can grab.
Organically Wonderful is a small family-owned business with a selection of fine, organically wonderful body products like dry shampoos. And you guys will like this: coconut vanilla dry shampoo, the Everybody oil, and lemon cream body polish. And you know what they're yeah, that's Alex's favorite. You know what their secret ingredients is, guys? Nature.
Love. Oh, it's nature. Yeah, nature works too.
And actually, guys, if you guys go to organicallywonderful.com and whatever you buy, if you punch in Scuttle Buddies 15, you'll get 15% off.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We can see all of the wares back there, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This is our little miniature warehouse that we have where we hand make and hand label all of our stuff.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, guys, what do you guys expect for the rest of the season for The Mandalorian? What's on your wish list? I'm for the most part, I'm very satisfied with the show. There's nothing that I'm really hating or disliking. I'm really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm really liking the kind of Indiana Jones-esque way that they're portraying the Mandalorian, where he's not perfect. He struggles, he gets beat up, but he gets up and he keeps on fighting. And I love that about his character. And I think, like I keep referring to Indiana Jones, it's just such a perfect comparison.
Especially last episode, it was really perfect comparison.
Yeah, especially the last episode with that.
I almost heard that theme.
I want to do a dub. I want to record that and then put the Indiana Jones music over it and see how it sounds, because I bet you it probably matches perfectly.
Yeah.
And as far as going forward, I think in line with classic George Lucas, where he got his inspiration from with the westerns and Kurosawa films. I have a feeling like we're gonna get something along the lines of like Seven Samurai, where he has to get together this ragtag group of frenemies to help him to defend this young Yoda from the Empire. The Empire is definitely going to be in search of this thing. I don't think he's going to have the heart to turn it over when the time comes, or if he does, he's going to find out what they're actually going to do with it, and that's going to make him want to go back and save it. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a rescue mission coming up pretty soon, where he goes back and gets the little baby, and then the season finale, last couple of episodes will probably be a standoff where he has to protect him, and he calls upon his friends. We know we have Gina, what's her last name? Gina Carano.
Mm-hmm.
Gina Carano is going to come in. We have Carl Weathers probably going to help him out. Do you guys think that they're going to bring IG-11 back? Like he's going to fix him up and bring him back, or is he gone one time, first episode, and then done?
He's a droid. They'll fix him.
You think so?
I think as much as he has shown up in the promotional artwork,
I mean,
I can't imagine them not bringing him back somehow.
It's almost like a trio. They're billing them as a trio. You got Mando, you got IG-80, IG-11, and Carano's character. So I've seen those three always in promotional tie-ins. So I think Andrew's right.
I wondered if maybe he doesn't take him and reprogram himself. Reprogram the droid, kind of like K2 in Rogue One.
Yeah, exactly.
Although we didn't see him pick him up.
That's what I'm saying. Like he left him at that fort.
True.
So is he going to go back?
Maybe IG-12 shows up. I don't know.
Also voiced by Taika Waititi.
That could be. Yeah, that could be. Who do you think those Weequays were guarding the asset?
Oh, you have a fun theory about this, don't you, Ro?
Yeah. I think those were Hondo's boys.
Pirates.
Yes.
You think we're going to see Hondo in this at some point?
Dave Filoni says never say never.
Yeah, I guess so. Is he still kicking around this time in the timeline after post Empire? Yeah,
he's in Galaxy's Edge. He's there. So he did survive. He's still around. So that would be very interesting. Yeah.
Who do you want to play? What actor do you want to play Hondo? Like that's a pretty detailed character. His personality is pretty eccentric. Who do you think? Do you have anybody in mind who'd want to play it? I haven't heard the whole cast yet, so except for the main trio that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have somebody. Maybe it's not. I know it's not Bill Burr, but it would be funny if it was Bill Burr.
Yeah,
I know he's already done a Star Wars character, but Simon Pegg could probably pull off the Hondo.
Oh yeah,
I don't know why Simon Pegg bugs me. I don't know why.
Because he doesn't like the prequels, or what?
No. You know what? I work with somebody that reminds me of him, and I don't like him either. So that's probably
maybe that's it.
Yeah, and they're probably not watching, so that's okay. So
they were, they aren't now.
Yeah, they are now. What? Tell us a little bit about where folks can find you guys.
Okay, you can find our website at thesciencefictionary.com. You can find articles there. You can find we have a built-in player, plays all of our podcast episodes there. You can also find us Coruscant Radio Underground. Pretty much anywhere where you can find a podcast, we're there.
Awesome.
Yep.
You got a new projects coming up?
We do. We're working on a new show, kind of going back to what we started the sciencefictionary.com for. And we're doing a new show called The Science Fictionarian. And it's a little more broad scope science fiction, fantasy. We'll do some action adventure like Indiana Jones and that type stuff. And we're really excited about that project.
Cool, yeah.
Talk about Lord of the Rings instead of, we always wind up derailing our Star Wars podcast to talk about random other sci-fi things. And so we're trying something new. And you can usually find me on Instagram. I have not been real active lately, but whenever we're going places and I'm putting cute costumes on my kids, I'm princesses _and_Padawans on Instagram. And also princessesandpadawans.com, for my like 2 articles, but mostly just on Instagram these days.
That's awesome. And I urge everyone to check them out because you do some fantastic work, and your kids
Thank
are
you.
always dressed to the T's in
Thank you.
genre clothing. So really great work.
Lots of Star Wars costumes. Yeah, that's my project for the next month or so, is all the costumes that people expect to be able to wear to the movie.
Oh, that's right.
We can't wear anything existing.
Well,
No.
she made the mistake of asking the kids, "What do you want to wear to the opening night of The Rise of Skywalker?" Thinking they would pick costumes they already had. No.
So
Why? It's like mom can make something new. So let's
Right.
just ask her. That's
at
awesome.
least they threw it out there more than like 3 days ahead of time. They've been known to do that. Like, hey, I changed my mind about my Halloween costume. I want this new thing. So at least I've got, time.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. And I think if you guys have anything else to add, I think we are good to go. So let's see, Frank and Amy, have you guys already bought your tickets for opening night?
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't, what are we
16.
talking about? Yeah. I think I bought 3 sets,
Yes.
family, a couple of sets of friends, and we're still kind of deciding what to wear. I had purchased a full Stormtrooper costume, but it's not comfortable at all. I don't know how those 501st people do it, especially if you're going to go into a theater.
Right.
I might just kind of settle for the whole Han Solo vest, gunslinger look.
Yeah.
Although I'm gonna have to get like a plastic gun and not use my real one because I don't want to get shot.
Don't do that.
Right, Alex?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Hey, Matt Vader just joined us and he's leaving. All right.
No, we're leaving. And he's like, I just got here.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much, Marisha, Andrew, Alex, and everyone in the chat. I will announce the winner of this wonderful Dominic Pace autographed
Yay.
character card after our broadcast. I already wrote down somebody randomly. It's right here. See it? And we will. I'll go ahead and announce that on Twitter later on tonight. But thank you guys. This was a lot of fun. And next week we're gonna have Trevor Beast 454. He'll be able to join us, and we're going to talk about tomorrow's episode. And if you guys are a fan of Dominic Pace, I urge you guys to really pay attention to tomorrow's episode because we have a feeling that it's going to be a good one.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited.
Excellent.
All
Guys,
right. Well, thanks for having us.
oh, no problem. It is always my pleasure to have you guys in any incarnation, video, audio, clip, promo. I play your promo all the time on our podcast. We love you guys. And thank you very much for being a fan of ours because we are definitely a fan of you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Alex, you've got the last word, brother.
And that's the scuttlebutt.
Awesome. See you guys later.
Bye.